If I stop cutting my fingernails, can I become Wolverine? Does quantum physics predict a bizarre alternate universe where I'm popular and cool? Answers to these questions and more on this episode of This Paranormal Life! Hello!
Hey!
And welcome back to This Paranormal Life, the weekly comedy podcast where every Tuesday, me, Kit Grimmelvenna, and this guy, Rory Powers, who's sitting across from me, get into a different paranormal case, deciding by the end of that episode whether we think it's really paranormal or not. How are you doing today, Rory?
I'm doing so great, Kit. Let me tell you, I'm feeling amped up today.
Ooh, okay.
Because I just spent the entire weekend snowboarding in the mountains.
Oh my God.
That's right, shredding downhill at 90 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour. I was never taught how to brake.
Breaking every speed limit in France. And I think the last time you do this, you famously broke your ass.
I broke my ass.
Is the ass intact this time?
The ass is intact because I did buy essentially an adult diaper designed specifically for snowboarders that kind of pads your
kind of a helmet
buttocks.
For your dick and balls.
Yeah, exactly. Which is also what I call a condom, coincidentally. Happy to say that, yes, the butt is intact.
Amazing.
I did take quite a bad fall, actually. This trip was the first time that I did a red slope, which Americans will know as a black slope because they don't have reds.
I like that you had to convert it for
Just want to let them know, because reds aren't a thing, I don't think, in America, in slopes. I took a fall. I did take a fall.
I think they call it a red, white, and blue slope. It's a freedom slope.
Oh, nice. That's pretty good. So I am doing fine. Ready to investigate the paranormal, have a great time. There is a 60 to 60% chance that I have a concussion.
60? Okay, so you do have a concussion?
60, no,
you said
what
60 to 60% chance.
60 to 16. 60 to 16% chance that I have a concussion.
Have you ever blacked out? Have you ever hit your head?
Yeah, you know this. I blacked out and fell down the McDonald's slide and sank to the bottom of a ball pit once.
Oh, yeah, like the policeman who went down the kid's slide.
Exactly. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fresh.
Oh, jeez.
We're rolling?
All right.
We are rolling.
Call this episode TBI Fridays, the way Rory has a traumatic brain injury. This is going to be very interesting.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought about that, but snowboarding is the absolute wrong activity to do before a podcast.
It was pretty bad.
Your brain is froze. You got brain freeze, like you ate a McFlurry too fast. You've hit your head 16 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I couldn't afford to hit it one more time.
Yeah.
Given my previous track record.
Yeah.
I actually showed up to our hotel and I was like, hey, we're here to check in. And they were like, oh my God, are you all right? You clearly have some sort of mental damage. And I was like, no, I haven't even picked up my board yet. I haven't hit the slopes. They're like, oh God, sorry. Just the way that you look and sound makes me think that you have already been kicked in the head by a horse.
Right. Watching Rory try to just put a hotel key card in the slot of the door is like watching like Muhammad Ali after his prime, just so out of it and slow. So sad.
I feel fine. You want to do a cognitive test to make sure that I'm sharp?
Okay. What year were you born? Quick.
Ages ago. Next one.
What? What day is it?
Next one. It's a working day, sir.
How many fingers am I holding up?
On which hand?
Okay.
He held up two hands. That was a trick question.
He's got two right hands. He can't see. He can't see. Okay.
I'm all there.
Hey, we've said it before. We've said it before when Rory's had the flu and things like this. He would say, Rory of the past Rory, who's gone now apparently after the brain injury, would have said, maybe using your sick mind, we can tap into some kind of, limitless style mind state that would allow you to solve paranormal mysteries. Maybe we could knock that brain of yours into kind of the other world.
I like this. I like the attitude. Because you know what stops people from doing cool shit in today's world?
Laws,
rules.
Yep.
A basic understanding of physics. Shame, exactly. All of which I no longer possess because it was knocked out of me on the red.
Yeah.
A French guy thought I died. He came over and thought he was recovering a body in the snow. I'm barely joking. It was a tumble. That's why we wear helmets. Always wear a helmet, even though it kind of makes you look like a dork.
If your limp body is going to get discovered by someone of any nationality, I don't want it to be a Frenchman because they're so unbothered by everything. They would simply ski over, kind of do a cool stop and be like, "Oh, sacre bleu, you appears to have no pulse. I will call the emergency services right after a couple espresso, a couple croissant."
It was pretty chill.
Yeah.
It was a chill recovery, yeah, which I needed a sense of urgency.
Okay, great to hear about Rory's death-defying adventures. Thankfully, I've been keeping it chill over here at Paranormal HQ. We are ready to dive in to another fantastic investigation. Rory, it's fitting that you've been away in France because here in TPL, we're always jetting all over the world. Not really literally, of course, but our cases are set in every single continent. We're always hunting out the weird and the unexplained. But sometimes you forget that this paranormal life is already from a weird place. England.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird place, having lived here for quite a large portion of my life.
People not from here might not know it, but England is very weird. A place where they bake beans and then eat them for breakfast.
Yeah.
A place where football has replaced religion. And every year they hold a competition where you chase a wheel of cheese down a hill and people are regularly hospitalized.
That's a real thing. It really is.
England is a borderline alien planet when you think about it. And of course, this weirdness doesn't stop there. It bleeds into the paranormal as well. In fact, some of the country's most ancient supernatural phenomena have almost been forgotten. But that doesn't mean they aren't alive and well today. Today we're talking about a paranormal occurrence once common in kind of old grand homes in England dotted around the countryside. Let's get right into it after a couple of words from today's sponsors with a quick reminder that every episode of TPL is available ad-free right now at patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. Link is in the description. Click that YouTube description if you're watching on YouTube and follow the link to patreon.com. Our story begins in the late 1600s in Cumbria, the northwest of England, an area that is now famous as a tourist destination. But the Lake District of the 17th century was an altogether different place. This was a harsh, unforgiving region with some harsh, unforgiving characters as well, like Miles Phillipson. Phillipson was a local magistrate, a justice of the peace.
Now, I don't know if I knew what that was before I hit my head, but for the audience's sake, could you explain what a magician is?
Oh my God.
What did you say? A magistrate?
A magistrate.
A magistrate, of course. Yeah. I know what it is, but I think there's maybe some people out there that won't know what it is after the head thing.
You're like, is he a light magistrate or a dark magistrate, like in Yu-Gi-Oh? He is, it's a judge, basically.
Oh, it's a judge.
Basically a judge.
Okay.
Think Scrooge.
Oh, right.
Just in terms of a guy.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Okay. Got it. Friends with Muppets.
He calls them Muppets, all right. He owned vast tracts of land and a large stately home, Calgarth Hall.
And his lead accountant was actually a frog. It was kind of f***ed up.
His accountant, not a frog, but he did kind of talk like this, weirdly.
And he wanted Christmas Day off.
One night, Miles was thinking about all of his assets.
I'm sick of this old house. I need something bigger and better. If only I had more land. Somewhere down the hill with a view of the lake.
More wine, sir?
Okay, all right. I know he said he might be a frog.
His servant, right?
But
Kermit?
Yeah. No,
'Cause
not
he said
Kermit.
he was like
I said
Scrooge.
this is just a guy who lived in the countryside in England in the 1600s. Just channel that method acting.
I might keep doing the Kermit voice.
Okay, I don't think you're capable of doing anything else.
I think that's just
Right
my
now.
voice now after the head hit thing.
I think we need to go to hospital.
I don't need more wine. I need more land, damn you. But yes, more wine. Fill it right up, you twit. Ah, now, who owns that miserable little farm down the bottom of the hill?
Why, that's the Craster Cook's farm, sir. He lives there quite happily with his wife, Dorothy.
Well, I want that farm and I want them off it. Get that place bought on my behalf. I'll knock down their hovel and build a fine new house in its place.
I'll make the relevant inquiries tomorrow, sir.
But when the Cooks were approached about buying their farm, they politely declined, They were happy with their farm and had no desire to uproot the life they'd worked hard to create. Enraged, Phillipson sent another offer, and another, each time with increased terms and an increased air of anger.
Oh, those despicable peasants! How dare they refuse me? This calls for something more drastic.
A few days later, a letter arrived at the Cook farm. It was from Miles Phillipson. Apparently, he'd had a change of heart. He wanted to apologize for his behavior. And as a way to make up for his persistent pressurizing, he invited the couple to dinner. And so they joined him in the manor.
I hope the food is to your liking. Do your servants also like to serve caviar?
Yeah. Well, no. We mostly eat potatoes, sir.
Ah, of course. Well, I've always said potatoes are the caviar of the earth.
After a pleasant evening, the Cooks had been charmed by Phillipson and returned home confident that the events were all behind them. But it wasn't to be. The next morning, the couple were awoken to a loud banging as soldiers kicked in their door.
All right, you thieves, out of bed. Where is it?
Where's what, officer?
A familiar voice echoed from behind the soldiers. It was Miles Phillipson.
Where's my silverware, Mr. Cook?
Mr. Phillipson, I don't know what you...
I saw you and your wife admiring it at my dinner party last night. And just like that, it's gone missing. Suspicious, don't you think?
But, sir...
Mr. Phillipson, I think you should come and have a look at this. The soldier held Dorothy Cook's bag, the same one she had with her at the dinner party. Inside were the cups and silverware from the dinner party. Take them away, boys! The soldiers marched the couple off, completely unaware that it had been planted there by none other than Miles Phillipson himself. Now, as if the fate of the Cooks couldn't get any worse, when they were hauled out into the courtroom a few days later, who was the judge? None other than Miles Phillipson. Their judge didn't have much sympathy, and he swiftly handed them each a death sentence and awarded himself their farm as compensation.
What? What year is this?
1600s.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That checks out.
When their day of execution came, Dorothy Cook wouldn't go without the final say.
Any last words?
Said the executioner.
I curse thee, Miles Phillipson. For what you have done, heaven will never forgive. Mark my words, I will haunt you, Phillipson, and your children, and your children's children for as long as they live.
Okay, that's enough.
And sure enough, Rory, when his fancy new property was built on the site of the old Cook farm, strange occurrences started immediately. At the grand housewarming party, guests noticed a terrifying sound emanating from the staircase in the house's foyer. Blood-curdling shrieks and screams cut through the party atmosphere, which I will say is a buzzkill at a party, isn't it? You're trying to be like, okay, and check out the entertainment room in the back here. Yeah, we've got a home cinema set up in here. And he opens the door. Closes it again. You know what? Maybe we'll skip the home cinema for now. Let me show you the gym.
You just gotta try and find a way to mask it, you know? Turn up the beats a little bit, get that pop in. When the screams keep coming through, people are like, yo, what the was that? Did I just hear someone scream? It's like, yeah, probably freaking out over this crazy party. Turn it up, Mr. DJ. Yes.
So it's like there's ring wraiths in the background. The guests are like, was someone screaming in there? Yeah, we've got a raccoon problem, that's for sure.
You never party so hard you just want to become translucent and float around the house?
Oh, it's just a trick of the wind or something.
Curse thee, Phillipson.
But they really did. The guests rushed to see where the noise was coming from, and they were traumatized by what they saw. There on the banister above them sat two human skulls screaming and shrieking.
Damn!
And so Phillipson had his servants remove the skulls and toss them in the lake.
Yeah, that'll get rid of them. That'll do it. That'll make them happy. What if we drown the skulls? That sounds like a good way to fix everything.
This is
I'll come back to haunt us, literally.
This is, I think, what they call the landlord special, you know? The same way landlords love to just kind of paint over cockroaches and broken bits of wall plastering. Just throw the screaming skulls in the lake.
Throw the skulls in the lake.
Someone else's problem.
Listen, I do get it. Nowadays, you might be able to cover up screaming at a party. Because all you got to do is go over to that playlist, put on some Slipknot, you know? There's a lot of screaming in that stuff.
Yeah.
That would be great. It kind of just blends into the background, you know? I put my fingers into my... And then all the skulls go, ah, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was much of that music kicking about in the 1600s. I think we were still about with lutes.
Yeah.
And shit, you know? Like, and fiddles.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people incorporating death metal screeches into their jaunty performances.
Rory, this is absolutely one of the most bizarre, strange English paranormal legends I can think of. This is known as the Screaming Skulls phenomenon.
Damn, okay, so today's story is just about the skulls. Because they seem like a very small part. I just found out about them.
Well, I had to give you the backstory
to
the skulls, because otherwise you'd be like, where'd the skulls come from?
Yeah.
Don't worry. There is more to the story to come, but I think, bringing it back to the courtroom analogy, we've got a good motive from the skulls to why they be screaming.
Right. Okay.
They
started
hate
with it.
Miles.
Yeah. Okay. Now this will be interesting to see whether or not the skulls appear for everyone or just Miles.
Yes. Now, it is a spoiler. I've slightly given it away that these are maybe not the only screaming skulls in the British Isles, but this is one of the more famous stories to do with this phenomenon.
Can I throw out a possible way of dealing with the skulls if they keep turning up in your house?
Please.
I think probably, as a paranormal investigator that's been involved in many, many cases, when you have a paranormal object or being or presence that currently and repeatedly is turning up in your house, the simplest method is to burn it down and move on.
Yeah.
The TPL classic.
A technique we've been espousing for years.
And I sometimes do that even if they show up for the first time. I don't wait for the second time. Burn it down, move on.
Sometimes it can be preemptive. If
Exactly.
you just hear a cat wailing outside your house, could be a skull. I mean, it arguably is a skull, just the skull is currently inside of a cat.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
But it could be a future disembodied skull. Just burn the house down, move on.
Yeah. Sometimes if just like the oven stops working, I don't really know how to fix it. So I'll just burn it down and move on to a new place.
How many
It's just easier
places
to
you
deal
on
with.
now, to be clear?
I'm on 7. I really slowed down ever since I got the air fryer because I don't use the oven anymore.
Yeah.
So I kept breaking the ovens because I put a lot of things in there.
Yeah. Whenever I was on holiday, and I think I talked about there being a gas leak in my Airbnb, that place was trying to burn me down and move on. It was trying to move on from my booking, my active booking. And I just got there.
So just a theory that I think we should remember. Burn it down, move on. That's what I would do.
It's a good point. But hey, Rory, we know what these Scrooge McDuck characters are like. He's probably pretty attached to Calgarth Hall.
True.
Not a name that rolls off the tongue.
No, it doesn't. It sounds like a demon.
Calgarth.
Calgarth sounds like the kind of motherfucker that will drag you to hell during the rapture. He shows up on the back of a flaming horse.
Calgarth.
Yeah. Calgarth sounds like if you're a woman and you're on the dating scene and you meet a guy and it's all going well and you can't believe it, he's 10 out of 10, but his name's Calgarth. And you're like, And he's talking, he's telling you about his job. Really great job. Interesting guy. Super kind, considerate.
He collects souls for the Dark One. It's a lucrative position.
But as he's talking, you're like, hi, you're imagining, hi, mom and dad, this is Calgarth. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say Kyle Garth?
No.
No.
Calgarth. It's like Colgate, the toothpaste, but Calgarth.
But evil. Okay, that's worse then.
Any nicknames? Nah, not really.
It's like Colgate, but 0 out of 10 dentists recommend me. Okay.
He's like, so anyway, Calgarth was at the mall the other day. Sorry, did you just refer to yourself in the third person? Yeah.
I need you to say your name less for this to work.
Calgarth loves margaritas as well. This is a really good one.
That's hot where I come from. Okay.
So I just wanted to get out there. a little bit of what is happening, but I think we're going to find out even more by looking back to the story of Miles and his skulls. If we recall, he threw them into the lake, hoping for the best. You might have inferred by the fact I'm still talking, that wasn't the end of the story. Things were okay for a while, but at his next party, the Screaming Skulls had miraculously returned. This time, he was offering his friends a drink.
Ha I got you, bro. 2 ice-cold Modelo's for the fellows coming right up. Ha
He opens the fridge.
Jesus Christ, shh. What are you doing here? I thought I got rid of you.
Surprise, bitch! I told you we're haunting you forever and ever. Amen.
Yeah, bitch.
Yo, what's taking so long? The game's about to begin.
I'll be right there. Just getting a couple of chases too. Ha ha. Listen here, you little shits. You will not disrupt my guests this time.
But he was wrong. The guests were again terrified and fled the house. And so he had the skulls ground to a fine dust and scattered in the lake.
Another great option. I mean, take them away from the lake, my guy. Stop putting them back in the
Take them
lake.
off the property.
You've gone to the effort to pound them into dust, put them on a train to another country.
This is, going back to dating things, this is a red flag. A guy whose solution is throwing everything in the lake.
Yeah.
Drain that lake. I think you're going to find a couple bodies in there, a couple things that ought to be in there. But even after being ground to dust, scattered in the lake, they continued to reappear fully formed at Calgar Hall. The story goes that, unable to host parties and plagued with bad luck, Philipson became a recluse and eventually penniless as the property fell to ruin around him.
Good.
But I will say, whilst he clearly was a bastard, this is a sad end. By all accounts, Miles was basically the third member of LMFAO. He was just trying to party rock in his house tonight, but the skulls stopped him. But as I have hinted, Rory, this is far from the only time a story of a screaming skull has come up in British history. According to English folk tradition, a screaming skull is a common paranormal object. The skull belonged to someone who had been wronged in life or death, and their spirit haunts the object. If disturbed, screaming skulls have been known to scream, talk, laugh, and can bring general misfortune to those around it. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
I actually haven't. I think it's the first time we've heard about a screaming skull before. I don't know why it's kind of a funny image in my head. Usually ghosts and spirits and those sort of things, they have a certain level of subtlety to them.
Yeah.
So just a skull screaming at the top of its lungs. Even a skull screaming, does the mouth open?
Yeah.
Or does it just kind of bleed out of the lifeless bone?
Yeah. And
I don't know.
It kind of doesn't matter, but I know what you mean. Like in the horror, like we sometimes do this. Okay, let's run the train of thought here. These ideas I'm about to say are all copyright, even if they're not very good. We sometimes say, what would the horror movie version of this be?
Sure.
In the horror movie, this is tasteful. It would be like the skull isn't necessarily a literal like mouth moving. It would be more like the skull. Maybe it's even like a kind of tinnitus. It's like an impenetrable noise that just rings in your skull that
drives people crazy. No one else can hear it.
No one else can hear it.
Yeah.
And it's honestly a metaphor for the guilt that person feels about what they've done.
Yeah.
And like no one else knows what's going on, and they're like, shut up.
Yeah. Maybe only one person can see it too.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean you don't see the skull? It's right here. They're going crazy.
But what the story sounds like is it's like a
teeth
little
chattering. Yeah, that's all I can think about.
Yeah.
Which actually would be pretty dope at a party.
Yeah.
Again, maybe not an old timey party from the 1600s, but modern day, hell yeah.
Do you think it would be an annoying party get like a skull that all it can do is talk? It's gonna be one of those guys you can't get away from. The skull has cornered you at a party. So then I found that if you get the coupons actually from the Telegraph, there's no limit to how many of those you can use in one purchase. So I actually found if you get the 50p coupon and you combine that when you're like, yeah, stirring your drink, like Jesus Christ, get me away
Can't get away
from
from this skull. Listen, I think we have more room for it in today's world. I believe that actually summoning paranormal creatures is a way to kind of liven up a party.
Yeah.
if things are a little dull. If you realize it's like kind of a sausage fest, it's a bit of a nerd show, you can summon up a couple demons in there, liven things up. I actually, when I say I'm going to get the guys together, I call that summoning the demons.
Right.
You know, when I say I'm going to invite them over. So yeah, why not just whip out a Ouija board? Why not see who else you can bring to the party?
I like that idea because women won't come to our parties.
True.
So kind of female demons is the best we can do.
Yeah,
you know? It's like,
and that's great because I actually still have my ex-wife's number. So if you want a female demon, I can call her. She won't answer, but I can get you that far.
I meant like literally like open up like the Necronomicon or something.
Yeah.
Summoning. I wasn't making a joke.
Okay. If you want to hear screaming every morning, night, and afternoon, I know someone that can help you out.
What were you doing to her?
I wasn't doing anything because I was
Why was she
never
screaming?
home. Your Honor. All right. So it wasn't my fault.
I know what you're saying. I think in the modern age of, like we say, this is not tea parties where they're playing Mozart, you know, with a 5-piece string quintet. I think in the age of Berghain, Berlin sex clubs, I think there's room in the modern world for screaming skulls.
Me too.
Now, the logic of this is that in most cases, screaming skulls will haunt an environment if they've been taken away from their desired resting place. Stories of screaming skulls seem to have been really popular during the English Civil War era. We're talking 1642 to 1651. One researcher, Dr. Kate Charrell, said that screaming skulls are often attributed to those who suffered religious persecution, say under Oliver Cromwell's Roundheads of the English Civil War in the 17th century. Immediately before someone's violent murder, they might say that they wish to be buried within the walls of their own house. But when these wishes were ignored and the persecuted individual was laid to rest in a grave, vault, or undesired ground, the spirit would fight back from the afterlife.
I mean, that's a pretty big request, to be fair. I thought you meant like they were buried away from their home, as in like in a foreign land or far away or something. But these guys are like, I want to be buried in my kitchen.
Right.
And I assume like the kids are just like, yeah, maybe. Because we actually get the house when you die. And like, yeah, maybe the garden. The garden's nice though. And there's like soil and shit there. And they're like, no, the living room.
The kids are like, you mean like cremated and then we'll put your ashes in there? Nope.
Nuh-uh.
Whole body.
I
Keep
want
it
a
all
tombstone
whole.
right in front of the TV so you can look at me too. It's like, no, granddad, absolutely not.
I want to be able to see Countdown from the afterlife. She would go on. Inhabitants of these houses report strange noises, bangs, crashes, and moans, and unexplained happenings. Once people figured out the connection between the noise and the skull of the deceased, they would frequently remove the skull, returning it to their homestead. Once returned to their home, everything would go quiet, and yet if anyone would ever try in future to move it again, supernatural chaos would ensue.
But the skulls from the story screamed in their home. They returned to their home and screamed and caused mayhem.
That's true.
So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, it's almost a variation on the theme, but I suppose they've still been wronged, haven't they? It still comes back to this request before death that is ignored.
Maybe it's like a kid as well, where they're like crying because they don't have an ice cream. And then you're like, oh, well, here's an ice cream. And they're like, well, I'm upset now anyway, so I'm still going to cry and eat the ice cream. It's like the ice cream doesn't help. Yeah, they're crying now. So like these kids, they're like, look, no, you're back in your house. And they're like, it doesn't matter. I'm still sad.
You should have given it to me before.
Yeah, it's like, oh, for sake.
It's too late.
It's too late.
That's kind of true. Kids are like that. I like this in some senses. This is, I think, in a world of kind of mysterious, unexplainable paranormal happenings. I like the straightforward black and white paranormal logic of this. It is a pretty much just straight down the middle cursed object.
Yeah,
you have wronged the soul of the individual, and they are kind of cursing or haunting you from the afterlife.
Yeah, but in a very physical way.
And there's a fun mechanic for solving the problem. You simply got to return them to their resting place.
Yes. What if you don't know where it is, though?
Yeah, spam.
Because all they do is scream. They don't it's not like they have an air tag on them that leads you back to where they came from.
This is the thing I have a big problem with, and we're getting to it quite early, but people who keep skulls in their house deserve this.
Yeah.
Why did you keep the skull?
Is the screaming, because if all they do is scream, they're never going to tell you where they came from.
Yeah.
But maybe it's like a hot and cold thing. So
Warmer!
if you move them left to right, they'll be like, ah, ah. And you're like, okay, this way, ah. And you're like, they kind of lead you in the direction of where they came from.
They get really excited once you find the spot.
It's like, all right, you're here. This is it.
I will say this Cromwell reference from Dr. Kate Cheryl is interesting too, because we last brought him up during our Spike Island episode with Emma from Real Life Ghost Stories.
A classic.
Because that bloke killed a lot of Irish people as well in Ireland. So it makes me wonder, although this is a very English phenomenon, surely there must be Irish screaming skulls too.
Yeah.
Over there.
Well, surely they would have come and haunted him.
I guess it depends whether he kept any of the skulls.
Maybe those Irish skulls would rather rest in peace than go to England.
Yeah.
They're like, absolutely not.
The Irish skulls were like,
We'll follow him to the ends of the earth to curse his children's children.
he got on the boat.
No, I'll stay. No, actually, I'm fine.
I'm actually quite content. That's all right.
Where's he? Stoke-on-Trent? No, it's fine. I'm going to stay in Galway.
Well, sure, let us know if he comes round again.
And then, I'll get him.
But either way, over the centuries, belief in the screaming skull phenomenon became part of English life, and many houses had skulls displayed on mantelpieces and bookcases. Why? That is so strange.
You're begging for it at this
Yes.
point. That's insane.
Maybe Shakespeare made it cool.
Right. Yeah.
I was about to say Romeo, the wrong play.
What the happened to you holding the skull?
Romeo shouldn't have dropped you an acid. But look, as dramatic as our opening case is involving Miles Phillipson, we realistically need more provable cases, don't we?
Well, more contemporary ones for sure.
Good. Then let's fast forward to a pretty modern time compared to the 1600s, the 1800s.
Ooh, okay.
And this is perhaps the most famous screaming skull story. And it comes out of the Bettiscombe Manor in Dorset.
Well, you better come with some evidence for this one.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. That's right. In the mid-1800s, mid-1800s, we're coming forward 50 years. A businessman called Azariah Pinney. He had just made great fortunes in the West Indies and returned to England to live out his days at Bettiscombe Manor. And just in case we were in any doubt that this guy did a bunch of terrible shit to make his money, Pinney brought back one African slave from the West Indies.
Oh my God.
It is disturbing that this is the crazily recent history of slavery. But the story goes that this man then got sick, and his one request to Azariah was that if he died, that his body or his remains should be sent back to his home country. You can kinda see where this is going. Obviously, Azariah said, yeah, no worries, mate. We'll get around to that. No problem. I'll definitely do that anyway. Get back to work.
Okay, well, yeah, just to stop you there, Azariah, because you don't actually... I know that you picked me up at one point, but that's not actually where I was born, so...
Yeah, where are you from? Like Wales or something?
No. Way over. Way further away.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if you need...
Sorry,
yeah,
we
'cause
met
you
in
picked me up,
the Caribbean. Yeah. No, I'll send you back to America or whatever the so
Different
anyway,
place.
we got
Azariah.
a lot of stuff. Huh?
That's right. Sorry, different place. It's very specific because I do
Why are
want
you still
to
talking?
go...
Do you see how many boxes need lifted and then loaded and then unloaded again? We're honestly just making up jobs for you to do, to be honest.
It's cool. I had
think
a
it builds
family.
character.
I had a family when you took me, and I think they would actually
Aren't you
just
sick?
want to...
Aren't you tired from talking? Aren't you supposed to be sick?
No, I'm not.
Sorry, you
actually.
have a family?
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yeah, you kind of
That's
just
crazy.
grabbed me right
You
away
like
from
never
them,
see
so-
them either, do you?
Well, not anymore. I don't see him. Can I?
No, God no. Right, so the boxes.
Yeah.
If we could... All right, what is it? What do you want?
I just want to be buried with my loved ones, actually.
In
after
Wales,
I
that's
pass
great,
away.
yeah.
All right. It ain't happening. I might as well start practicing my screaming now.
Sorry. Yeah, it's hard in your throat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Which one's more annoying? The or the Just want to make sure I can really torment you for the rest of your days.
I'm going to spit in your tea this afternoon. It's like, where are you from? The continent of Africa. I told you this. I'm from the west coast of, best I can do is Spain. Best I can do is southern Spain.
Because I'm not getting on the boat. I'm just going to put you on it and push you somewhere.
I'm going to put your remains in a little box, attach it to a helium balloon, and just see where it lands.
Oh, you want to go home to be with your loved ones? I'll do you one better. The lake. How about the lake? Be pretty nice down there. Make a bunch of fish friends. Huh? Hang out with the last 16 servants I put in the lake. That'll be cool.
He's like, okay. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. Do you have any sense of when you'll die? Because I'm quite busy this autumn. So like, if we want to get it out of the way, we could always kill you off this summer. And then I might have a bit more time to kind of handle things. Yeah, complete bastard. Hopefully there's a statue of him getting torn down and stomped on and shat on somewhere in England. Anyway.
Hell yeah.
Rory, we might be making fun of Azariah, but he deserves it because you can see where it was going. When the man did eventually die, Azariah said, all that, just bury him in the local parish graveyard.
Honestly, further than I thought he was going to go.
Right, yeah.
Even that surprises me.
I'm willing to bet that skull activated like the alarm in Kill Bill. As soon as it was buried, it was like, hell no. Almost immediately, deafening cries and shrieks could be heard from the graveyard. They terrorized the local population for days on end. The villagers were shaken and demanded that Penny do something. The body was dug up and brought back to Bettiscombe Manor and placed carefully in the loft until a plan could be hatched. Now, during the coming evenings, the remains were silent, and whilst not back in their home country, they seemed to be somewhat happier back at the manor. And any attempt to rebury them caused the wails and screams to return. So after several failed funerals, Penny decided to leave the body in the loft. Over the years, the skull remained in the house and was respected by future homeowners. Occasionally, a new homeowner would try and get rid of the skull, but, and I literally have a written record of this in a book called Notes and Queries in Dorset, quote, if the skull be brought out of the house itself would rock to its foundations, whilst the person by whom such an act of desecration was committed would certainly die within the year.
Jesus.
That's a hardcore curse.
Don't put that shit on the new homeowners. They didn't have anything to do with this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want a skull in my house. I'd try and get rid of it.
This reminds me of, I saw people talking about this on an Instagram reel recently. The fact that I believe in the United States of America, you have to legally declare if a house is haunted. Now, you don't have to do that, to my knowledge, in Britain.
I mean, turning up and seeing a skull on the mantle will give it away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I might
pretty
have a
obvious.
suspicion.
Now, although the details and veracity of this story have been questioned over the years, there is some evidence that a skull had, at least until recently, been kept in pride of place in this manor. This is why it would be a great horror movie, because there really is no more kind of blunt of a metaphor for Britain's colonial slave-owning history than literally cursed skulls of poor souls being kept in the attics of the manors.
Yeah.
That it's like behind the glitz and the silverware on the tables and the servants is the literal bones of the people who built the country.
Yeah, it's a pretty accurate metaphor, I would say.
So in that case, actually pretty cool. We understand where these things came from. They were legitimately kind of tortured during their lives, and only fitting and deserving that they would haunt the pricks who dare to disturb them. I will say, slight aside, as we round this episode off, that story's worrying me a little bit. Don't worry, I don't have skeletons in my house, but I did recently move house.
Yeah.
In September. I moved into my new family home, and we had a look around. And sadly, that house became available because the person who did live in that house died. So it was a bit weird. It's always a bit weird when that happens because you're kind of stepping into someone's space. There's like marks on the wall from the poster. You know, there might be a poster left on the wall that they hung there and you have to take it down. It feels a bit weird.
Yeah, little marks on the door frames of heights over the years.
These
family
things.
members. And Kit was not respectful during
Landlord special, innit? Paint over everything.
Kit's like, all these memories, all these picking up a hammer, all these smashing through.
I was tempted to burn it down and move on before my wife reminded me that we had paid for the place and it would be my money I'd be burning. But at one point, maybe the most fateful, dramatic moment of me exploring the house was exploring the attic. And this would be a scene in the horror movie, right? It's all dusty, the spiders crawling around. You get the little, it's a bungalow, so you get the little pole and you pull down the stairs. I climb up the ladder. I don't even know what I'm going to see. I'm expecting a guy living there.
Oh, yeah.
Some kind of freakish zombie-like man.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what my brain is telling me. Click on the light. Dink.
19 skulls. Screaming in perfect harmony, like the Beach Boys.
Get around, get around, get around, get around, get around. I get around. Some of the skulls are just keeping perfect harmony. But no, there was no skulls. But I did explore the attic, scraps of newspapers lying around, the odd, like a newspaper from 1967, relics of the past. But there was a shillelagh. There was actually 2 shillelaghs.
Hell yeah.
Old shillelaghs. If anyone doesn't know what a shillelagh... Have we talked about what a shillelagh is?
Oh, we have, but it's good to give a refresher.
Okay. I think it came up in the Leprechaun episode, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like a ancient Irish stick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was traditionally used for fighting.
Yes, because I saw this recently, I think online, there was like a whole article about someone bringing back Ireland's martial art.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we had a martial art? And it was like, yeah, the art of shillelagh fighting.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I saw that video.
Dude, they're using these sticks.
It's like Irish kendo. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
and
I was like, I refuse to believe it was even developed to this point. Because even the stuff they were doing, I was like, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe I need to learn more about my heritage.
I loved one of the comments in that video was just like, of course, the Irish martial art is just wailing on people with a stick. It's just smacking fellas. But it is true. Like Ireland's history, it is interesting. I mean, hurling, our national sport, which is the fastest sport on earth, allegedly. You can look it up online. It's amazing. It's where you have a ball, a bit like a baseball.
Yeah.
And you
hit it with a stick.
hit it with a big stick.
That's kind of most
terrifying.
of the things we do in that country.
But it's an incredibly ancient sport. It's like thousands of years old or something.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other sticks we liked, aside from a hurley, was a shillelagh. So I found these shillelaghs. I think I pulled them down from the attic and left them in the corner for a while. I think my wife did that thing where she was like, I'm going to bin these before Kit realizes they're gone. Because, and fair enough, I have no need for them. I do not really want them. This house is cluttered up with stuff anyway.
Should have given them to me. Should have brought them over here.
I should have.
That would have been cool.
They were massive. Well, they're like that size each. I think we might have disturbed something. I don't know. Maybe the sounds in the house at night are just normal sounds.
No, so there are sounds.
There's some sounds. There's some smells. There's some weird stuff coming from the attic. But I am worried that belonged to a leprechaun or something.
Yes, yeah.
I've disturbed something.
Well, they're used to hit leprechauns, right?
Yeah.
Like beat them off, so...
The wave. Pause. All right.
They're used to beat
They
off
like it.
leprechauns.
They're into that kind of kinky shit. You hit them at the same time.
So I'm just saying, you probably should have made sure, maybe you thought there was no paranormal activity, so you get rid of the shillelaghs, and all of a sudden, the little guys in the garden are like, here we f***ing go.
The shillelagh was the only thing keeping them away.
Yeah, they're like, big mistake, pal. Now we have full range of this house.
Because that's the thing. You explore your house and you're like, that's crazy. They forgot to take the shillelaghs. It's like, no, they remembered.
They helped you by leaving them there.
That you need the shillelaghs for the home.
Yeah.
Exact same as the laughing skull. But look, before we go, I wanted to talk about our final screaming skull case. We are in now the most Englishy sounding of all the locations. Wardley Hall in Worsley.
Do we have a date for this case? Just anything in the 1900s would be nice.
We've gone back. We've absolutely
gone back again?
We've gone back to the 1600s.
Oh,
yeah. But don't worry, stay with me.
This was the first sighting of a skull.
Because we are talking evidence today.
All right.
Kinda. Because whilst it happened a long time ago, the screaming skull is still there to this day.
How's this for evidence? Someone wrote a limerick about it. Does that count?
Rory, this is the skull in question.
Okay, well, this is already great. We have a photo of the skull, regular looking human skull, except in one of the photos, it looks like it's sealed in a box. Like a glass case.
A soundproof glass, not really, but that would be funny.
It should be, but okay, interesting so far.
According to legend, this is the skull of Father Ambrose Barlow, a Catholic bishop, persecuted in 1641. He was hung, drawn, and quartered at Lancaster Castle, which is, as we well know, a hell of a way to go.
Well, the name is very fitting because the bar is low for evidence today.
Nice, dude. It said that after he was killed, the Lord of Wardley Hall, Francis Downes, secretly procured Barlow's head. Whether out of quiet respect, probably not, or morbid fascination, almost certainly, he had it hidden away in the walls of Wardley Hall. But interestingly, all was fine until one day a servant, cleaning the hall and finding the skull, assumed it was the skull of an animal and, you guessed it, tossed it in the house's moat.
Yikes.
And then, once disturbed, the skull was heard wailing from the watery depths, meaning they eventually had to actually drain the moat to find the skull and then place it back inside Wardley Hall, where it remains to this day.
Wow. Okay.
So, okay, a little bit more of a documented story, and clearly some lengths being gone to locate the skull, place it back where it came from, which is adjacent to evidence, and cool that the skull is still there.
That is cool.
Meaning there's some significance to it, but it's not actually evidence, right? We really would like some recordings today, some audio of us. I wish I could just hit play and you could hear
the screaming.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get that when we're talking about cases from the 16 and 1800s. We're not even going to get photographs. The best kind of photographic evidence we could get is some sort of tapestry done recreating the events.
But in theory, we should be able to, and this is criticizing my own case here, I mean, we should be able to just take that box on a day trip.
Right.
Take it to a fun farm.
Yeah.
And it would, in theory, at the moment it crosses the boundary of the castle, it should start screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering.
Yeah, just throw it back in the moat again. We should be able to hear it screaming.
Yeah. So the fact that no one's kind of Robert the Doll style tried to set up a camera and film this.
Right.
I don't know. It questions the paranormal logic of the whole thing.
Also weird that this type of haunting seems exclusive to the olden times.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not fashionable these days for ghosts. You know, that's just not a good choice for them. I feel like the way it works in my head is when you pass on to the next thing, whatever it is, you get to tick a box. It's like, hey, are you happy to pass on? Yes or no? No? Okay. How do you want to come back? You want to come back as a ghost? You want to come back as a cursed doll or an object? Screaming skull? No one's done that one in a while. The screaming skull, back in the day, that was huge. I remember when everyone was coming back as a screaming skull. Right. Oh my God. But they're like, no one does that anymore. That's so, you boomer. No one comes back as a screaming skull anymore. That's so lame.
Yeah.
I'm coming back as a poltergeist. I'm coming back as an onibi. I want to rock shit in the human world. Screaming skulls, I don't even have legs. I can't move. Yeah,
okay. I see what you're saying. It's kind of like saying, why do we never see anybody on a unicycle? It's like, occasionally you do, but it's a weird guy.
Yeah.
It's like a rare thing to see.
It's a novelty.
Because there's better things to do now.
Exactly. If you came back as a screaming skull, you would get bullied by the other ghosts. They'd be like, you know that guy came back as a skull?
Embarrassing.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is funny because, okay, thankfully, we've made moving skulls around illegal.
Well, for the most part, yeah.
You know, it is illegal, all right. just to be clear, to remove
If you get
human
caught.
remains
Yeah.
or have or own them in your house. So maybe that would explain why things are not happening as often. But interestingly, what we have increased the usage of is ganking people's body parts for life-saving surgery. So if you die, it's increasingly likely that your heart or some body part, if you're registered as an organ donor, would be used to go into, I don't know, a guy who fell off a motorbike
Yeah.
and needs a new kidney.
Or let's say hit his head hard on a red slope and needs a new brain.
Needs a new brain. Rory hosts the podcast next week after now being given the brain of an 80-year-old Japanese man. He sounds completely different.
Completely, all my cultural references are way out of whack.
He loves rice now and different music and clothes. What I'm trying to say is you would maybe think there'd be a sprinkling of kind of paranormal phenomena, maybe surrounding those bodily parts having been moved from their rightful resting place. But we never see that.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen.
But I guess the logic. But that person's given consent by the organ donor form, so they
Right.
wouldn't hunt anyone.
They wouldn't be dissatisfied in the afterlife. Yeah,
I've solved it in my head.
Accurate.
Okay, we've got there.
sometimes you just got to talk through it.
Look, guys, this is the ancient English phenomena of screaming skulls. What do you think?
Can't believe it took us this long to cover this general topic on the podcast before. It's a great one. It's interesting. It's unique. I like it a lot. And some great storytelling in today's case, which we always love to do on a podcast. Ultimately, look, we're just left with the problem of old-timey cases. They're very hard to prove. This was around the time that people still thought dragons were real.
Yeah.
It was just a time where myth and lore and legend and stories all blended together with facts and reality to the point where no one really knew what was real and what wasn't. And what we're hearing here is definitely more blurred lines. So this is a tough one. It's always a tough one to talk about these types of cases.
Rory, you summed it up beautifully. I don't think it's a case we need to dilly-dally too much at the end of an episode to talk about. I think in the case of the Screaming Skulls, we have to give it a yes or a no. Why don't you take the lead?
It's going to be a no from me this week, unfortunately, Kit. A great case, but I think without the evidence, that's just going to have to be the conclusion.
Yep, I guess to the skulls we're saying, come at me, bitch. Haunt my ass. We'll
Do
see.
it.
I'll let you know if the shillelagh causes some kind of leprechaun-like shenanigans. But as yet, that hasn't happened. It's a double no today in the case of Screaming Skulls. So I will quickly shout out, thank you very much for suggesting this episode. Will, who emailed that in to this Paranormal Life podcast at gmail.com.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
Guys, if you have enjoyed this investigation and you simply can't get enough, please listen to us. Listen to these two Screaming Skulls, future Screaming Skulls, when we tell you that you need to head over to patreon.com/this paranormal life. Why, Rory? Why did I just say that?
Because that's the best place to support the show. All right. It's also the place where you can get a bunch of cool goodies, the head thing's kicking in again. I mean, I was doing so
TBI
well.
was really unnoticeable for a while there.
What were we talking about?
It's weird. It's like you've been severed, and like whenever you're talking about the paranormal, you're completely lucid. But then once we go off topic, then you're like you're
I actually
drooling.
don't really remember
you go
what we're doing.
Joe Biden mode.
Did we do the intro questions?
50, 100 trillion billion dollars.
We did the Patreon is where we.
I'll talk
Okay.
if you don't want to.
Yeah. No, I can talk. It's fine. You can get things on the Patreon. You can get a bunch of stuff. Extra bonus rewards. It's all coming back now. Yes, you can get a ton of extra stuff on the podcast. You sign up for as little as $5 a month. You support the show. The show continues to grow and build and survive for many, many years, screaming in every house that we can get into, just like the skulls in today's story. And so it's great. You should check it out. It's patreon.com/this paranormal life.
I think we should upload to the special private Patreon podcast feed where we upload the bonus episodes, the after parties, all the bonus content. I think we drop an episode next week, a quote unquote episode that is just a high quality WAV file, audio file of 45 minutes of me and you screaming. And that way, of course, the patrons can skip it, just skip to the bonus episodes, skip to the good stuff. But for the patrons that want to prank their family members, prank their coworkers, thinking there's a screaming skull, you connect that to the Bluetooth speaker at your best friend's wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Up the night.
That's a...
Hashtag up the night.
That's a good little prank. You can even put the phone like inside a skull.
Love that.
Or something like that. They're really easy to get because they're not going to fight you for it. They're dead.
We should make one of those skulls the warm-up act at our next live tour.
Oh, yeah.
Just people, as the people filter into the room, just...
Just a skull on stage. I like that a lot. That's a really good idea.
Head on over to patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. And of course, at the end of every episode, we have to give a shout out to those who have supported us on Patreon. Let's do that then. So a special thank you to Doug Weaver. Doug Weaver, that's actually not a name. That's their job. They've just put in their job title there. They weave Dougs.
What's a Doug?
You've seen a Doug. Like a guy, he's like a guy. He's like usually like normal height, like normal hair.
The name of a man
eyes.
is what you're saying, yeah.
And
he weaves
them. It's kind of like an Adam and Eve situation. Like weaves them pretty much out of nothing. But it's like it's weird. Like
so he's a god. He
kinda.
He creates men.
But like God could create anything.
All right.
This person can only create Dougs.
I see. He has a niche.
Yeah.
He's like an Etsy store where you can pay him to make a Doug for you.
Because they weave them and try as they might, they'll try and make someone who looks utterly different. But then at the end, they just stand back and just go, it's just unmistakably another Doug.
It is a Doug. Yeah. I have an uncle Doug in Florida.
Do you?
And he does look like a Doug. Even when you look at him, if you didn't even know his name, you looked at him and you'd be like, your name is clearly Doug.
I think Nikki Glazier has a great bit about like parenting or not wanting to become a parent because she's like, it's great. Like you can have a baby and that's exciting and like the baby's really cute. But then one day they just become Doug and they're a baby for a way shorter amount of time than they're Doug. So, it's really, people should really say they're having a Doug. So shout out. Yeah, I mean, that's great if you can create people from nothing. I mean, Christ, that's going to be really useful.
That would really help.
Thank you also today to Gyarados66. Making Gyarados66 your online username and having no profile image, as I can see, is definitely what you do when you're actually a Magikarp. When you're a Magikarp hiding behind the keyboard, you call yourself Gyarados. You're like on Tinder calling yourself Gyarados66.
Yeah,
hey ladies,
yeah.
I'm definitely 20 foot long and all pure muscle.
66, that's
big fangs.
That's my level. And you guys know Magikarps evolve at like 30.
Yeah.
So and I'm 66. So you know I'm a Gyarados.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and assume you're a small fish that can only flail.
But that's fine. We need those two in the commune.
Keep working on that level, brother. Okay, thank you. Lastly, today, but not leastly today, to Anita Milne.
Anita, I need to ask you a question real quick.
Oh.
Where did you come from? All right, because there is a good chance you're going to end up as a skull in the commune, and we need to know where to put you when you die.
Since I researched this, we've started taking census information. Exactly where did the people come from?
Yeah.
And so actually,
not that you're gonna die here. Everyone dies, is what we're saying. Everyone dies eventually.
That's what I say when I take risks. Life comes with a 100% chance of death.
Yeah.
So the commune does too. The commune comes with a 100% chance of death. But that's life. That is life.
And that's life. Because if you try and leave, we'll kill you.
And so
shouldn't have said that part out loud.
We've now sadly.
I need a lawyer.
I need a lawyer. We've actually had to start turning away people at the border of the commune because we go, where are you from? And they're like, Dallas. And we're like, too far.
Way too far.
We can't repatriate your remains to Dallas. Yeah. That's crazy.
It's also hard to let people in the gates when there's just wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow of skulls coming out. Mm-hmm. So it's like a lot of people don't even want to come in at that point. So
thanks, Anita. And thank you to everyone else we've shouted out today. We're back with more shout outs from next week. Thank you to our patrons for supporting us. We are going to be back actually on Patreon this Friday with the after party, and at the end of the month with a bonus episode. But we will, of course, be back here on the main feed on Tuesday with a brand new paranormal tale.
Bye-bye.
Oh, those despicable peasants! How dare they refuse me?
Oh,
Oh, shit, brother.
oh shit.
Surprise, bitch! I told you we're haunting you forever and ever!
That's going to be a hard one to keep up.